Iran didn't tell Pakistan it was going to do this, so Pakistan was naturally offended, and it's now retaliated by attacking what it says are guerrilla or militant bases inside Iran.
Breaking news this morning, Pakistan says it's launched missiles into Iran. Let's find out more from the Times Middle East correspondent Richard Spencer. Morning, Richard.
Good morning.
So this is a response to Iran sending missiles into Pakistan. Tell us the context of this and how surprising an escalation this is.
Yeah, well, of all the escalations and fights and bombardments in this direction and that over the last few months in the Middle East, all focused, of course, on that war between Israel and Hamas, I think this is the one that nobody expected. Iran and Pakistan, they're not the best of friends. They, like many neighbors, they have shared interests and competing interests, and there's sometimes a niggle, sometimes they cooperate. One thing we thought they had sorted out was that they were both enemies of this blocky militant group that probably most people haven't heard of until this week, Jaish al-Adl, which is a group that's Sunni Islamist, and it's fighting for an independent state of Balochistan, which is Balochis are an ethnic group that live in Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. It carries out terrorist attacks across the region. It has to be said, ones that sort of totally destabilize them. They do kill, they do kill quite a lot of people. They killed 11 policemen in Iran last month. And this seems to be what triggered this Iranian attack on Pakistan the night before last. But Iran didn't tell Pakistan it was going to do this. So Pakistan was naturally offended, and it's now retaliated by attacking what it says are guerrilla or militant bases inside Iran. So this kind of suggests that both countries are sort of accusing each other of backing this group against the other. It's a very complicated situation, a very surprising situation that they should be doing this to each other at a time when, both countries are very focused on opposing what Israel is doing in Gaza. It's all a bit baffling, really.
Does this show Iran at all? I mean, because we're told that, Iran backs the Houthis but doesn't want them to cause too many problems. Or is this demonstrating that Iran is expansionist in its approach? It's feeling that it wants to be more interventionist in this way, because they've got their proxy positions in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Yemen, and now they're going after Pakistan. That looks like a very active Iran. Is that surprising?
So I have a theory about this, which I'll tell you if you want to listen.
Of course.
It's only my theory. It may be complete nonsense, but if you've watched Iran over the last few years, you see that there is it does have this very assertive foreign policy. As we know, it backs all these militant groups, ultimately with a view to challenging Israel and America and the West and their position in the Middle East. So, as you say, it backs Hezbollah, it funds Hamas, it backs the Houthis, it arms the Houthis. But there's another thing going on in Iran, which is it faces a lot of popular unrest at home. It's not a very popular regime anymore. There have been a lot of protests, most recently about the women's rights issue, the veiling issue, as you may remember. But there is a broader issue, which is people, are rather fed up when Iran is, quite a poor country at the moment. It's suffering these terrible sanctions from America. Things aren't great for your ordinary Iranians. And Iran is spending all this money supporting all these militias a long way away. So there have been a lot of calls in these protests and demonstrations over the last 5 years saying things like, fund hospitals, not Hezbollah, to put it bluntly. Why are you spending money on Hezbollah? And so I think this is saying, one of the arguments that people will say in light of this string of terrorist attacks inside Iran. There was the police station incident I just mentioned. There were 84 people killed at a rally in the southeast of the country by Islamic State on January the 3rd. And I think they're saying, we have got your backs as well. So I think this is more, targeted internally, saying, we can secure you. Because of course, if Iran is backing all these militant groups, the one thing that Iranians might expect is that they should be protected at home. And if they're not, then it's another cause for protest and dissent.
But that sounds terrifyingly plausible to me, Richard. But it doesn't make a difference, I suppose, what the motivation is, because it's a very unstable area. If Iran is worried about its own internal popularity and it wants to throw its weight around, that's bad news generally, isn't it? Because this is a very tricky time, and if Iran is doing that, that's going to make a bad situation worse, you would imagine.
Sure. And of course, with Pakistan, it's a particularly sensitive issue, right? Because as we know, Pakistan occupies this hugely ambiguous position in geopolitics, if you like. It is an American ally. It's been an American ally for decades now. But of course, a lot of what it does is not liked by America at all. And so there are very difficult relations between America and Pakistan, even while they're formally friends and support each other geopolitically in the UN and so on. Because, as we know, Pakistan does support militant groups. It supports militant groups in India, which infuriates India. It supports the Taliban in Afghanistan, which certainly infuriated America. So Iran is kind of, getting in on that act. But of course, the difference is, Pakistan is an American ally. So what's going on there is Iran saying, which I suspect might be something to do with this, is saying, look, if you have to choose Pakistan, if you're going to be friends with America, you can't be friends with Iran. So, about time to make your loyalties clearer.
Yeah, it's just another layer in all of this very, very toxic mix at the moment when it comes to Middle Eastern politics. Richard, great to speak to you. I understand more than I did before we started speaking. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That's Richard Spencer there, the Times' Middle East correspondent.